Hey scholars, welcome to another fun-filled video. Today we're going to be talking about rounding, this skill of rounding, really important. It helps us with many other things that we will be talking about later, but for today we're just going to kind of get into the idea of like what is rounding, how do we do it? When we think about rounding, the one thing I want you to have kind of click in your brain is that word about, because that's really what rounding is about. It's getting close to something. So you often hear the directions of like round a number to the nearest, and then it would have a place value here. And so this is really what we want to think about is as we know about like place values, right? The ones place, the tens place, and the hundreds place, and more, right? There's the thousands place and so on. But for now, I guess, so I don't sit here and list them all. We just list it in here on threads. So typically it's one of these names that's in here. And what we're doing is we're taking a number and we're saying, oh, well, what is it close to in terms of if we were to count by tens or hundreds? Very rarely, especially not today, or anytime soon, are we going to be thinking about rounding numbers to the ones place, because that really is just the number you have. So we'll talk more about that way farther down the road. But for now, it's more like, okay, if I had a number and I needed to round it to its nearest 10 or hundreds, then it would just be this idea of like, how do we, if we were to skip count by like tens, what would this be closest to? So that's what we're going to do. It's a lot easier just to do it than to talk about it because it's kind of hard to conceptualize that way. So let's just do it. I'm going to continue that skill. So let's say we're going to round these numbers to the nearest, again, let's say tens place. Like let's start with the tens. Okay. And then I'm going to take some numbers. So let's see here. Let's take the number 17. Let's take the number 31. And let's take the number 26. Okay, so let's play this game about, oh, well, how do I take these and round them to the nearest 10? Like, what is the answer when I do that? So a couple things. A number line is one of our greatest gifts to help us see that. And again, in this case, remember, like we're dealing with tens here. So actually, when I build my number line, I'm going to build it in increments of 10. So I'm going to think about how like here's 0, and then maybe I'll go like 10, 20, 30, and then 40, right, roughly. And we want to think about like, okay, well, again, on a number line in between this, there's all these other little numbers. They're just the ones, right? So let's see, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So, and then 40. So as you can see, like I did them in a different color, you could see it. And then I also made the 5s larger. I made the tick marks larger when I counted to the 5s, because you could also do that. So let's play this idea of like, what's the nearest 10, right? Okay, well, we'll take our first number, 17, and we would put it on this number line. So if I know that this is 15, right, this is 15, then we're gonna go 16, 17. So there's our number. It lives right there. And again, we're asking like, what is the nearest 10? If I was counting by tens, what would be the closer number? Would it be the 20, right, where I'm going here? Or would it be this 10, where I'm going here? Well, when we think about what's closer, we could think about hops, like what's the fewer amount of hops it would take me. So if I was at 17 and I had to go to 20, that would be like 1, 2, 3 hops to get me there. But if I wanted to go back to 10, I would have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hops. So 20 is the nearest 10. It's the closest 10. So we just took 17 and rounded it to the nearest 10. We round it to about 20. It's about 20. It's like if you looked at a jar of erasers and someone was like, how much is in there? You're like, I don't know, about 20. And maybe there was 17, but hey, you were pretty close, right? That's what this skill is all about. Like, can we just move it to the nearest 10 and get an idea of where a number is? So if we looked at the next number, 31, same thing. Like, let's go plot it. So here's 30, here's 31 right here. So here's 31 on my number line. And then again, I have to ask that question of like, well, what's the nearest 10? What's the closest 10? Is it this 30 right here, or is it this 40 over here? And if you just look at it, this one's pretty obvious. It looks like 30 would be the nearest 10. But mathematically, it's also true because look, this would just be one hop. Sorry, it's a horrible number 1 to get from 31 to 30. But if I went from 31 to 40, I'd have to do 9 hops. And obviously, when we're talking about what's nearest, it's the least amount of hops. So to hop 1 backwards to 30 is a lot closer than hopping 9 forward. Okay, so that rounds there. Okay, so let's try 26, and go ahead if you want, like pause this and see what you can do and come back and try it with us, which now you're back because you paused it, right? So step 1 after I build my number line would be to plot this. So here's 20, here's 25. That would make this one right here 26. And then we would ask ourselves how many hops, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 hops to get to 30, or 6 hops to get to 20. And obviously that means that 30 is the nearest 10. So that's an interesting thing. Notice that 31 and 26 both round to 30, which that's part of rounding when you think about the nearest 10, okay? So this is one way to look at it. And I like this way. You plot, you make a number line, you think about your range, right? Which if you see the range between the two 10s would be like, let's say I had 56. Well, my two 10s would be the 50, and then the next 10, 60. So you'd be looking in between those numbers. Okay, so sorry, that was probably a little too much, but make your number line, plot your number, and then count your hops. And whatever 10 is the closest is what you would round to. Another way we can look at this, a lot of people kind of call it the roller coaster. So we'll go back to 56 as an example. And this is just another way to conceptualize it. I'll say 73, and then, I don't know, let's say 95. Okay, so one way for me to conceptualize this then is to kind of like, they say, like kind of build a roller coaster and think of the ride itself. And again, my range is I'm definitely starting at 50, and then I'm going to the next 10, so 50, 60. And then you think about each one of these is like that little click along the roller coaster. So you start click, 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 you're going up it, right? Click, 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 click. And then you start to go down it. And notice you start to go down at 55. That's something to notice. Oh, can I squeeze it in there? Sorry, I didn't space that very well. Okay, and then you think, all right, well, if this is where we're at, and I take my number 56 and I put us right there on the roller coaster, well, what's going to naturally happen? Am I already on my way straight down to 60, or am I magically going to go up and over and do some crazy wild backwards thing to go to 50? And so again, gravity takes over and we shoot straight down to 60, 56 round to 60. And if we do this mathematically with numbers, you can see this does make sense, because again, if we think hops, 56, 1, 2, 3, 4 to get myself to 60, or it would be 6 hops to go all the way back to 50. So 60 is closer. Okay, so I ran out of space, so we'll skip this one and let's do this one. So again, we're gonna make a little roller coaster. 90, right? That's where I started. And then 100 would be the next one if I count by 10. And again, notice there's nothing right at the top. The thing is, when you're at 95, you're always going to end up rounding to the next 10 up. We'll talk about that. I didn't really talk about that in the number line, but that's an important skill to know. And we'll get there, don't worry. So 93, 92, 91. Okay. So now, here we go, right? here are our numbers on this wild ride. Some people say roller coaster, other people just say it's a hill and you have a marble. So we could look at it that way. So here's a hill and I put my marble right here on 95. And then again, right, scientifically speaking, thanks to gravity, this is just going to shoot right down to 100. It is not going to magically go up and over the hill on its own and make it to 90. And so this would round to 100. But we can also look at that mathematically in terms of numbers of hops, right? Here's 95. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get here. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, huh? It's the same amount of hops. How do we know? And that's exactly kind of what I want to talk about, is that really we think about this idea that if, and we're going to talk about this more, but I like to put this out there. If the number is 4 or less, then you definitely always round down. And if it's 5 or more, you round up. And what we mean by rounding down or up is that idea of the direction you move on the number line or on your thing, on your roller coaster, whatever works best. So let's say, let's see, I'm gonna do not 93, I don't like that, that's not fun. Let's do 32. Okay, so again, if that was on a number line, well, I would start at 30 and I would go to 40. I know in the middle is 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 31, 32, 33, 34. What did I say? 32. So we would be right here. And so what I mean by 4 or less is that number in the ones place, right? Notice this is a 2, which is less than 4, right? It's the number 4 or less. And again, you can see 1, 2. And that's why I mean round down. Notice I'm going backwards to get to 30. So this would round to 30. Okay. What we mean by rounding up is if I was here and I went this way, that's rounding up, moving up on the number line. But obviously we wouldn't do that because that would take me 8 jumps to get there, where it only takes me 2 jumps to round down. So these are now, notice I'm already giving you more terms, rounding up and rounding down. Okay. So we round down if the closest 10 is smaller than the number we have. We round up if the closer 10 is bigger than the number that we have. So let's look at one where maybe if we had 5 or more. Let's see if I can quickly erase some of this to give us space. And let's take another number. I'm going to take the number, I think, if my pen wants to work. There we go. I'm going to take the number 98. I'm going to do our little roller coaster. So 90 and 100. So this would be 95. This would be 94. We have 98, so 96, 97, 98, 99. So that would be right here. So I'd be right here. And again, 5 or more, that's in the ones place. Notice I have an 8. So that is, oh, I should have done it in different colors. That would have worked, sorry, but time is running short. That is in this range, right? 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Those are all 5 or more. So we're gonna round up because we're going from 98, and you can see that 100 is the closest. So we round up to that, okay? All right, don't worry. This is just a little bit to get you thinking. I would really recommend trying these techniques and kind of playing around with them and getting a feel for it. Like, don't feel defeated if like after this, you're still like, what the heck are you talking about? Because we're gonna be working on it in class. This is something that starts now in 3rd grade, and we talk about it every year after that. So don't worry, we're gonna handle it in 4th grade and 5th grade, and you're gonna see it in 6th grade and 7th grade and 8th grade and so on. So this is just something that we're beginning a journey on. As always, continue to ask questions and make sense of it. And I, again, thank you for your hard work and for being here, and we'll see you soon.